Welcome to the Brave New Wealth podcast, where we discuss reinventing wealth mentally, physically, socially, financially. Yes, there are multiple ways to look at wealth, but these are the areas that we will explore. I'm your host, Julienna. This podcast is sponsored by Engineer Tax Services, a subsidiary of Engineer Tax Advisory. Our goal is to empower CPAs, advisors with proven expertise, education, and innovative strategies to help reduce clients' tax burden and make sure that they take advantage of all of the incentives available to them. Today, I am very excited to have with me Tina O'Banion. And I'm gonna go ahead and cheat a little bit because her credentials, I just couldn't memorize it. It's a lot. So let me tell you about my wonderful friend, because Tina is also a friend of mine. So Tina O'Banion is a financial guru and the best-selling author of Falling Up with Grace, an entrepreneur's journey to financial clarity. It's available on Amazon, so go and support her and give her some reviews on this wonderful book. With a career that spans roles like controller and CFO across industries, she's perfected the art of making finances work for entrepreneurs. A bold leader and a dynamic change maker, Tina specializes in guiding business owners through mergers and acquisitions and the financial strategies that drive growth, all while staying true to her core value, which is integrity. With a bachelor's degree in accounting from the University of Texas at Dallas and an MBA from SMU's Cox School of Business, she's as sharp as they come. Tina isn't just about crunching numbers. She's on a mission to empower entrepreneurs to see their business through a crystal clear financial lens. Her passion lies in turning confusion into confidence, providing actionable insights that take companies from surviving to thriving. And I have seen Tina in action, and I can tell you that she is very, very good at helping entrepreneurs. So, Tina, welcome to the Brave New Wealth podcast.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me. I am so honored to be here with you today. It is just such a great podcast. I love the name, Brave New Wealth. I mean, come on now, let's just do this, right?
Well, thank you. And I'm sorry for butchering your intro a little bit. I was reading, and I do have to tell the listeners that, if they hear an accent, it's because French is my mother tongue. I didn't mention that on the first podcast, but so give me a little leeway here when I mispronounce certain words. But Tina, I'm so glad you accepted to come. It means a lot. You are someone that I admire. I admire your journey. I admire how you got to where you are. And I'm excited to just learn and dig a little bit more into your journey. But before we go into how you got to where you are today with this published book that recently came out and, speaking on stage and having all these wonderful goals that you just achieving one by one. I know that it wasn't a straight line, so we'll go a little bit into that. But my first question to you that I like, to ask the guests who come on is, recently, what is something you've done that is outside of your comfort zone that helped you, in your growth journey? Like if you think about very recently, something you started doing that helped you, I'd like to start there.
Well, that is a great intro into the beginning of 2025, right? So a couple of weeks ago, I was a part of a virtual entrepreneur summit where there were about 70 speakers, and we all had to submit a 20 to 30 minute video of us so that the viewers could go and listen to what we have to say through this video. And I didn't think I would be nervous. I didn't think I would totally bomb it. I just thought, hey, it's like being on a podcast or being in public speaking or talking to a group of people. But no, it was not. It was this video camera. I used StreamYard. I've never used that before. I just thought, okay, let's just hit record and bam, I had my story. I kind of knew what I was going to talk about for about 20 minutes, but oh my God, it was awful. I mean, I know we're our worst critics, but I've got to say that I just recorded, I listened to it. I couldn't even listen to it. It was so bad. So many ums and so many things that were wrong with it. So I decided to go ahead and submit it as is. Then I just said, okay, I'm done. I've just done, it is what it is at that point. I've just recorded this thing so many times. So after that, I decided, I want to challenge myself to do better because I'm a continuous learner. So in being a continuous learner, I'm always learning new technology, staying on top of what's trending and what's going on in the workforce and what's going on with accounting firms or whatever's going on. So I decided on January 31st, I woke up at 5:00 and I said, hey, in order for me to do better, I got to practice. Practice makes perfect, right? So I didn't want to be perfect. I just did it. Sometimes just taking that risk and jumping over the ledge and just going for it. So I decided to come up with filming in February, where I'm challenging myself 28 days for the 20 days in February. I'm just going to go out there and just go record myself on StreamYard, whatever tool, learn new tools, learn new technology. I have a microphone that wouldn't work for this interview, learn that technology and really just kind of better myself to doing the videos because, honestly, today's, you have to learn it. You have to do it. Or else if I don't do this, I'm going to just be left in the dust. So I want to grow my business. I want to reach more entrepreneurs. I want to just be able to speak to them. And in a setting such as the video in my office, in my She Shed office, and do that. So I'm hoping by the end of it, the end of the 20-day challenge, I will do a comparative of the video I did in January and the video I'm going to do at the end of February. And, start my YouTube channel, all that good stuff. That's what I'm doing. Oh my gosh, it's just learning new things.
I was saying, I love your She Shed. I've been there. And so for the listeners, it's just this little area outside of her backyard that she built, used to be, I guess, a tool shed, but she made an office out of it. And it's really beautiful. It's very warm and cozy and like a little escape. And that's where she works. And I think it's really, really cool. I was going to say, just with what you just said, I mean, it's, we are women of a certain age. I know we're like, don't look our age or whatever, but it is something to have to just hop on that train that is just fast with all the new technology, with all the things, learning the language of today, which is knowing all the social media outlets, being out there, putting yourself out there. And like for my kids, I have teenagers, that's their language. I mean, they just, are on the camera all the time. They don't care. They just follow each other around, know their location. But for us, it's a lot of new things, utilizing AI and all these things. So to watch you just very quickly applying, all these things, it's quite impressive, actually. So kudos to you for being like, you know what? I'm building my business. I'm going to speak the language of today and be on that train. And I've seen you just acting on it. So with that, I'd like you to kind of tell a listener a little bit about your background, like what got you into, becoming a CFO. How did Tina O'Banion become a CFO? Tell us a little bit about your journey. And I know a lot of it is in the book, so I encourage you to go and buy the book so you understand even better, because there's, we're limited in time here. We're not going to talk about all the details, but tell us a little bit where that drive came from, why you chose the field where you're in, which ultimately led you to write this book to really have something to help those entrepreneurs who struggle at times. with their
Yeah.
finances? And I'm going back
This is
on
a
mute because I have a little bit of background noise. So,
So this is a great question. And, I remember sitting in entrepreneur class at SMU and, maybe it wasn't entrepreneur class, but it was another class. And the professor asked, who's your hero? Who do you look up to? And all this stuff. And everyone was writing down who they thought their hero was or their mentor, or, all that. And I didn't think about this until I was called upon. And I said, look, it was my mom. My mom is who taught me the value of money. She was a bookkeeper herself. We were a lower middle class families. She was a single parent. And, when we wanted anything above, shelter and food and, things, I had to pay for it. So I had to buy up. And so that value of money was embedded in me at a very young age. And I took a class in accounting back in high school, and I loved it because I was really good with math, not so much English and spelling. Oh my gosh, don't get me to spell a word. So I just decided to go down this accounting journey because debits and credits equaling, that just made sense to me, and numbers made sense to me. It's very logical in my mathematical brain. And so I went for it. I graduated high school and I, just kind of went and started off this journey in basic bookkeeping all the way up to being a CFO. And, I can't say much other than the fact that along that journey, it was a long journey. It was a long ride, many different industries, many different things I've seen entrepreneurs do, the good, the bad, the ugly. And, all of those things helped develop me and learn of what I wanted to do and how I wanted to be. In the intro, you mentioned my integrity. My integrity is my compass that drives me. Right? That is the most important thing that I will not sacrifice in any kind of relationship I'm doing. If I'm asked to do something that's unethical, I say no. And I've been fired for it. I have been fired for it because I just flat out refuse to do anything that's unethical. So I take that very, very seriously. And, throughout my career, I've made mistakes and I've fallen up and I've gotten back up again. I've fallen and I just learn. Brush off my pants and brush off the mud and I just keep going. I'm high energy. I listen. I'm very passionate about entrepreneurs understanding their business through a financial lens. And that's what got me here, right? I think the idea of, reaching that always, when I reached that CFO of a publicly traded company out in Sweden, I'm like, I'm here, I made it. But then I was miserable because I was working so many hours and I was working for a CEO that just was a bad dude, just not my cup of tea. And, that's why I started my my business is TFO Clarity, which is the financial office, and I started it. I said I had been doing this side hustle so long. I mean, I had been doing, friends and family call me up. Hey, I'm starting a business. I need some accounting work. Would you mind putting this on a computer and doing this? And I would do that. So that's always what I've been doing all along. And so when I finally made that decision to say, I'm going to cut the cord of corporate America and go start my own journey. And I could have asked for a better dream, right? Being your own boss, deciding what clients you work for and who works, all of those dynamics. And I'm thrilled to be here. And I'm still very much so in love with helping entrepreneurs see their business through a financial lens.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And I know, we've known each other for a few years now, so I've heard some of the stories, even some horrible stories. So, which takes me to ask you, and I may know the answer, but not all listener, but what was your tipping point? Because I remember there's one particular story you told me one day, and we don't have to name names or whatever, but just really high level CEOs trying to commit some weird crime, I guess, and you put your foot down. It's like, I'm not going to go along with that, but because I do feel that, and maybe tell me if I'm wrong, but that could have been the tipping point also for you to be like, you know what, I'm done with this. And I'm going to go on my own and decide how things are done. So can you give the listeners like a few example of what you've observed in different practices, different, different people that you helped who were really trying to use you to do things that were unethical?
Well, so a while ago, I kind of went through one of the most challenging, difficult things in my entire career. I was hired on as a CFO to kind of help run this company in an industry I had very little knowledge of, but that didn't matter. And I started working for this guy, and about a month and a half into it, I found that he was embezzling money and he was stealing from the company. We had 70 or 80 employees at the time. We had a call center. We had all these employees, and I whistle blew. I kind of talked to the president of the company that he actually he and I met at alumni event at SMU, and he said, "Hey, we need you. We need you." And I said, "Well, okay, let's just do this." Right. So we knew each other, and I told him what was going on. And it's probably one of the most trying times of my career. It taught me courage. It taught me that I had strength. It taught me I had leadership. It taught me that I was well more capable than I ever thought I could be or would be, because I had an opportunity to grab my purse and say, "See ya. I don't want to be here." And I chose to stay at that moment to focus on ethics and focus on those employees that were relying on those paychecks every single week to get by, to pay their bills. And I did it, and we together we were able to get the company sold within 45 days, which is unheard of, and just, survival mode. And I think that taught me that I was stronger than I even thought was possible. And I just persevered after that. I just said, I'm not going to take this BS. And so over time, I really just got down to the last 3 roles I had played, and not being respected. One role was the guy really just had 52 spreadsheets. I'll never forget 52 spreadsheets, and very manual process. When you have a manual process like that and all these different numbers, you're going to mess up. I would say F up. It's not going to be accurate. You're just moving little cells over. You're doing this. And it was just not my cup of tea. I mean, how boring was that? And, after that, then I just, I've been challenged, many times to be unethical, and that's not my cup of tea. And I will absolutely say no. And I absolutely will move on from that, because I just refuse to let that happen. My name is not going to be on any kind of financial statements, especially in a publicly traded environment. I'm just not going to put my name to it. So, and, I just knew I had this entrepreneur spirit. I just knew I wanted to do this one day, and I had climbed that corporate ladder, and I was ready. And so that's what I did. I said, I'm done with this, and I want to help more entrepreneurs and choose the clients that I work with, and they get to choose me. And I've grown my business. Now I have 5 employees, and we are, setting some great practices, and got some great things coming up for 2025. I'm ready. I'm ready to keep launching. I started my business right before COVID, 2019, and COVID hit. And then, because I'm very well networked, I was called upon. I mean, I grew significantly in 2020, and it's been great. Great success story, I think.
It is. It is very there. It's great. And really the story you shared speak of your integrity and the choices that you will make, that you will, choose your conscience and, no matter what. And that's admirable. It's doesn't always happen as we know in this day
Yes.
and age that people will choose, what is right. Now, we don't have a whole lot of time, but there's a couple of questions I do want to ask you. One being, today, with the role that you've taken on, with the book you've written to help those maybe younger entrepreneur and even more mature entrepreneur, but that still get lost, in their numbers and don't have that clarity, what would you say are like the three things you would counsel entrepreneurs, business owners to look at? Basically, the three major pitfalls that you have observed in different companies and throughout
Yeah.
you know, your journey
That's a
here.
great question. I have, I'm embarking in kind of a follow up to Following Up with Grace. This is a journey, it's an entrepreneur's journey. I am following, I'm, it's not a how to book, but I do plan on coming out with a workbook and a workshop to help entrepreneurs kind of really understand this clarity method I'm putting together. And one of the top things I would say is that entrepreneurs, and let's just start from the beginning. Statistics show 1 out of 5 businesses that start their business, 1 out of 5 will fail after their first year. I mean, not after the first year, within the first year. That's 1 in 5. And nearly 50% will fail and not see year 6. Those statistics are alarming. And what I've seen, I've worked with startups, I've worked with, lots of businesses doing mergers, acquisitions, or fire sale, or having to sell a company because something happened and they've got to get the heck out, or exit strategy was not there, or whatever. They were going to go through bankruptcy and they were bought out of bankruptcy in a fire sale. So there's been multiple things I've experienced. But the thing is what I've noticed is the number one cause of that, why those statistics are so high, is because business owners do not realize that cash is killing their business. Okay? The number one cause of that is because cash flow, lack of cash flow, too much cash. They spend it too quickly on all the nice shiny things. And lack of strategy, right? So it's cash, lack of strategy, and lack of knowing their numbers, right? They are focused on sales, they're focused on operations, they're focused on, all of these different things. Hell, they could be, focused on payroll, or they could be focused on, how I'm going to pay the rent. They're short-term sighted. They don't really have a plan. And I think that's knowing your numbers, understanding what their long-term goals are, understanding their cash flow, and really understanding their numbers. That if you have that and you have a plan and you have goals and you measure them, you review them, all of that combined is what I'm putting together with the clarity method that yields results. Because I've actually seen and been through multiple bankruptcies. I've come in to try to fix, and it was too late. So that's why I do what I want to do. I want to help entrepreneurs see their business. We all have cell phones. Entrepreneurs are great at counting their money. But because we have it at our fingertips, we could go look at our money. How much money do we have? But there's no strategy behind that. How much that money is going to last me, right? So you got to have a plan.
Yes, no, that's very useful. With that, I'd like you to kind of show me or show our listeners what is a success story where you've helped someone, find that clarity. Like if you have maybe a recent example where you've worked with, an entrepreneur, a business owner, where you were able to apply this and see the results.
Right. So I have a client that I work with. And she is an amazing person. She had lots of big dreams. She decided to embark on something, a new technology. Now, mind you, she is not in the technology business. So she invested heavily in this technology in hopes to help her grow her business to be, be more broad, go global, whatever. And she just didn't have a plan. So she just kind of put all this money into this application, this technology, and it blew up in her face. She didn't know how to look at the contract and understand what the contract was saying and the deliverables and the milestones and all of these things. And so things just kept changing constantly. By the time she found out about TFO, she was referred in by another client of mine, and we started working together, and we built a plan. We decided that, now she was really, really upside down in debt. And so we've come up with a cash flow model and projections on how to pay that debt off, all while trying to grow her business in different ways. So talk about the deer in the headlights when I first started working with her to, I'm so excited. I'm going to meet with Tina this month. I'm so excited. We're going to do this. We're going to do this. And we're going to, just like, she didn't really want to talk to me. She didn't want to look at her finances. So from going that way to all the way to 180 saying, I can't wait, that brings me pure joy.
That is beautiful. And I think, yeah, it's just, in my area with tax, it's like that. Like, people don't want to know about it. They just want to take the pain, the hit, and then hide. But it's like, no, you have to look at it. You have to, know what's going on in order to be smarter about the decisions that are made.
Well,
So
and I think that's why, number one, we're friends, but I think that what you offer entrepreneurs is this different viewpoint than most CPA firms give, right? So you have that strategy, and what I'd like to why we're so similar is that most business owners have a CPA that file their tax returns. Good for them. They're doing what is required of them. Most of them have a bookkeeper, and all the bookkeeper does is make sure bills are paid and, things are done, but there's no strategy. They're missing the strategy. That's why your services and my services are so important. Let's look out. Let's look out for cash and look out for the goals and look out for the big picture, right? Thinking outside the box, not just 12 months down the road, not just 6 months down the road, but actually what it's going to look like longer than 3 years, 5 years, or what's their exit strategy? What do they want to get out of the business, right? So those things, without strategy, you're just going along. You're just autopilot, right? You may not grow. You may not be able to reach your goals. You may not be able to reach your dreams. You're just settling. Without that strategy, it's a dream.
It is, and it's great that you have that clarity and that you can now share it. And with that, I want to ask you, like, where can people find you? Who now listen to this and are like, you know what? Because I also have to put a plug for you that she's super fun. Like, she knows all these numbers, and she's a number, gal, but she's also super fun to be around. So if you're a dynamic entrepreneur and you don't want the, no shade on anyone, but like the boring. So me, I have to be careful what I say, but I might ask Sia to like erase this. No negativity. But anyways, my point is, where can people find you if they want to work with you, follow you, start on that journey of clarity with their finances to make sure their business succeed?
Great. So obviously, following up with Grace, An Entrepreneur's Journey by Tina O'Banion, can be found on Amazon. It's a best-selling book. You can read the book if you want to. It's on sale through the end of February. I've been doing a special as 20% off. You can find me and the financial office at by texting. If you want to get a free gift, you can text the word numbers to 26786. Yes, text the word numbers to 26786, and you will be able to get my clarity method. And there you will be. Another way, obviously, is to go to tfoclarity.com. It's a new website. It's not perfect, but you know what? No one's ever perfect. So we're still developing that website. It's new. It's energized, and we're just going to keep adding some blogs and tips and YouTube channels, etc. So welcome to filming in February. But
Awesome.
yeah, thank you so much for having me on the show today.
Thank you, Tina. And I will put all that information in the show notes so that people know where to find you. They can call you, have, your first meeting with them, or I don't know how your process is, but I will make sure that everything is there. Thank you again for coming, for giving us some clarity on what we need to pay attention to, when it comes to, finance and being organized. And, I might ask you to come again in the future,
That'd be great. That would be amazing. I would love to spend time with you. And I love this new platform you're building. I hope this is very useful for entrepreneurs and business owners and, high net worth people. It's about building financial wealth. Not about, but that's always good to have good financial wealth. So brave new wealth. I love it. Good job.
Yep. It's all the aspects, mental, physical, social, financial. We need to look at it all. And it's okay if you're not there in the high net worth yet, but we want to take you there. So with what we do. Thank you so much, Tina. And come back again.
All right. High five. Thank you for having me.
Bye. Thank you.